officials from the state government of Uttar Pradesh, and all those who are joined via live streaming. We welcome you all in this plenary meeting. And ladies and gentlemen, after the plenary session, there will be a signing of Y20 Communique. And may I now invite on the dais respected Shri Sharad Vivek Sagarji, I invite Chair Y20 India, respected Shri Anmol Sovitji, Coordination Head Y20 India, Secretariat, respected Shri Patikrit Painiji, Shri Falis Sajaria, Indian Head of Delegation for Y20, and Ms. Aditi Narayani Paswan, Track Chair for the track Peace Building and Reconciliation, ushering in an era of no war. So ladies and gentlemen, we all have gathered here today for this plenary meeting and signing of Y20 Communique in this Rudraksh International Cooperation and Convention Center in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. And trust you me, it's been so many months, in fact, that we were together. So we will really miss you all. And we really wish and hope that you also had a gala time being in India. Those who are coming in, may I request you to please be seated and put your cell phones on silent mode. Thank you. So we have with us Ms. Aditi Narayani Paswan, Track Chair for the track Peace Building and Reconciliation, ushering in an era of no war. Namaskar. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this session, we have a special guest on the dais, Sri Sharad Vivek Sagarji. He is a globally recognized social entrepreneur, powerful orator, and a widely followed youth icon. And to tell us more about Sri Sharad Vivek Sagarji, may I invite Ms. Arya Jha, Secretary Communications, Y20 India Secretariat.
Hello, everyone. It's my honor to welcome all of you to today's session. I hope you have enjoyed your time here in the historical city of Varanasi. Ever since Y20's work started in India, our main aim was to democratize the participation process of youth in the events, programs, and initiative of Y20 India. Through this, we wanted youth to come up and make the world listen to their voice and their ideas. Through our Chopals, Model G20, Y20 Talks, Y20 Walks, we made our Y20's India platform a diverse stage where everyone could participate and make it a moment of a mass public participation. As an extension of this exercise, we invite our chief guest and youth icon, Mr. Sharad Vivek Sagar. Welcome, sir. Mr. Sharad Vivek Sagar is a globally renowned social entrepreneur, noted through leader, powerful orator, and a widely followed youth icon. Mr. Sagar is the first Indian to be elected president of the student government at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Raised in a small town and villages of Bihar, Mr. Sagar founded the national organization Dexterity Global at the age of 16. Today, leaders trained in this organization system have received over rupees 175 crores in scholarship from top universities across the world, served as India's youth ambassadors to the UN, won national and international awards, and started their own leadership initiatives. President Barack Obama invited Mr. Sagar to the White House. Forbes listed him as the global Forbes 30 under 30 list. Rockefeller Foundation inducted him in the list of 100 Next Century Innovator. The Nobel Peace Center invited him to the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony. Beside his organizational leadership, Mr. Sagar is regarded as the firebrand orator and thorough leader, as it invited to speak at over 250 major stages across 20+ states in an average year. Mr. Sagar reach over 5 million people per month everywhere to motivate them. Michigan State University put Mr. Sagar on its social entrepreneurship syllabus. The government of Taiwan quoted him on their social impact agenda, while the Ramakrishnan Mutt and Mission featured Mr. Sagar on their annual calendar. In 2022, Dainik Jagran bestowed upon Mr. Sagar the Editor's Choice Award for India's youth icon for representing the bold face of young India and redefining the education and leadership for millions of young Indians. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, delegates of Y20, young leaders from India and all across the world, those who are present in this auditorium and those who might be watching online. It is an incredible honor, and what a moment, that young leaders and people who deeply care about issues of young people have gathered here in this historic city. Known as the spiritual capital of India, one of the oldest inhabited cities in the world, a place where we have convened at this moment around 10 kilometers from here. Gautam Buddha preached his first sermon around 2,500 years ago. And it is not a surprise that Mark Twain, talking about this city, called it older than history and older than legend, and said that the city of Varanasi was twice the age of both history and tradition put together. As we convene here as young leaders, there are some questions that must be in our minds. On one end, these questions can be related to issues that the world faces, ideas that we have in our minds, and then the challenges and opportunities that every person in this room and outside might be seeing for themselves in the next 5 decades or six decades that they are going to be on this planet for. As I look at the Y20 initiatives in India and around the world, one of the first things that crosses my mind is the experiences that I gained spending some time in my teenage years as India's representative to some international summits across the world. Some of you in this hall might be familiar with this story already, and especially our friends from outside, overseas, part of our global family, might not be fully aware of this. For the first 12 years of my life, I did not go to school. I grew up in small towns and villages of my home state of Bihar. My only connection with the rest of the world, the opportunities or challenges, current affairs or policy or news of any kind, was through a newspaper that would reach one day late. Every day when I read the newspaper, I would come across some story or the other of some young individual, someone who would represent their country abroad, some student who would receive a full scholarship to study at a major university in the world, and some student who had just won a national or international competition. As a young kid, I wanted to participate in these, but I could not have participated because I was not enrolled in a school. So I picked up a very simple habit. I would write down the names of these platforms, competitions, scholarships in a diary, and hope that one day I too will be able to participate in these platforms and opportunities. At the age of 12, I moved to the capital city of my home state with my mother and got enrolled in a school. By the time I was 16, I had participated in many opportunities that I had noted down from newspaper, and I was fortunate enough that I had the opportunity to represent India in over 6 different countries at UN and intergovernmental platforms. There were 2 things that struck out in my experiences at these platforms as a young teenager from India. The first memory that I vividly recollect almost every time I think about why youth leadership is important comes from the great city of Hiroshima in Japan. As the leader of the Indian delegation, I had the opportunity to go to Hiroshima as a 15, 16-year-old kid. We went to the Peace Museum. We had the opportunity to meet with people, the hibakushas, who had survived the atom bomb attack. But the most deep impact, the deepest possible impact, I think, happened when we saw a tricycle of a child who was playing on that fateful morning, a tricycle that was half burnt, half bent, and the child, of course, was nowhere to be seen. His picture was up there in the museum. It hit like nothing else could have. On the other end, in Sri Lanka, at the Hikaduwa National Park, right after the tsunami had hit, I had the opportunity, a sad one, to meet Stevie, a turtle who had been blinded by the tsunami. The memory of a tricycle in Japan, the memory of a blinded turtle at Hikaduwa National Park in Sri Lanka, both remained important reminders of what do we mean to talk about when we talk about the future of work and the future of our planet. What do we talk about when we talk about peace building and shared governance or shared future? When I looked at the Y20 opportunities that every young person in this country and many around the world have had the option of tapping into, I was extremely pleased because at the age of 16, when I saw that not a lot of young people have the same kind of opportunities as I was fortunate to have, writing down these opportunities from newspapers, I founded an organization in 2008 called Dexterity Global. Dexterity was founded because of the second reason that struck me. Dexterity was not founded because of the vivid picture of a tricycle or meeting a blinded turtle, but because of a very simple reason. That in auditoriums and conference halls, where we have conversation about policies that will define how countries will move at a domestic level and how policies and structures and frameworks and agreements will come to life at a national or international level, we should often pause to wonder. Way too many conversations about access to clean drinking water happen without a single child in the room who has seen a mother go 1.5 kilometers to pick up a bucket of water. Way too many conversations about future of work happen in rooms where no child who's aware either of AI or of vocational training has had a voice in the room. But that was not the case with India's G20 presidency and Y20 efforts that we raised all across the country this year, as was visible to everyone here at home and around the world. Hundreds of chopals, to our friends from other parts of the world, chopals would be these local informal settings where young people met and they talked about those Y20 themes where you might be deliberating and negotiating and conversing about in different rooms inside and outside of Zoom. And finally here in this great city. When I think about that, it does come to mind that a young gentleman who's a Y20 chair and on stage here himself came from a young village of Bihar, lost his father at the age of 5 or 6, went to the local village school, found his way to college, and then finally went on to lead this effort in this country with an incredibly gifted secretariat, members of the Y20 team, those who are on stage and those who are off it. I think all these conversation points I had in my mind 16 years, ever since the founding of Dexterity or my first experiences at these international forums, they came to a major fruition looking at Y20's efforts this year here in the country. There are 3 things I want to share with you as young leaders that we can keep in mind, the message that India might have for the world. In India, we proudly say, Na abhisheko na sanskara sinhas kriyate vane. Vikramarjit satvasya swayamev mrigendrata. There are no rituals, no traditions, no recommendations or nominations. By its own heroic deeds, by its own action, by its own merit and courage and conviction, the lion becomes the king of the forest. As young people all across the world, where we want our voices to be heard, our actions to be taken note of, and most importantly, a seat at the table, it is important that as Y20 delegates, as young leaders, and more importantly, as local role models, we do not wait for a seat at the table. We do not request for a seat at the table. Through our own deeds and thoughts and actions, our coming together and our voicing ourselves, we should have the courage of that lion that for thousands of years in India we talked about. That there will be no rituals or customs or traditions or nomination or recommendation. You yourself, by your courage and conviction, with your own truth, can take a seat at the table. And that is an important task that as young people we must take forward. But this task does not just stop there. There's another great message that comes from the Vedas in India. The Rig Veda says, Ano bhadra kratvo yantu vishvata. Let noble thoughts come from all sides. And now I know for an entire year you have let noble thoughts come from all sides. But the great Gandhi in this country said something phenomenal. He said, echoing the same thought, that our ideas should come from everywhere in order to remain culturally sensitive, in order to remain contextually intelligent. Gandhi said that I like to keep the doors and windows of my house open, but I like to keep my feet grounded so that I do not get swept away by any breeze. In order to make that remark a little further, I want to share a funny story, but a serious one at the same time, that a senior social worker once told me. It is a story of a goat, not the footballing greats, an actual goat in one part of our country. The goat's owner, the person who was rearing the goat, was a poor man living in a small village. He saw that the goat was getting weaker and was sick. So he told the local people in the village that my goat has been sick for some time. What do I do with it? So they said that the elected representative of the village, the Mukhiya of the village, his goat was sick as well a week back. You should go and speak with him. So this poor villager went to the leader of the village and said that, you see, my goat has been sick for some time. I heard your goat was sick too. What should I do? The elected representative of the village said, yes, my goat was sick. I made my goat drink some kerosene oil. For the uninitiated, something like paraffin. So this poor man went back to his house and fed the goat some kerosene oil. Not to anyone else's surprise, but to his. The goat died next morning. The poor villager went back to the MYAS house, the elected representative of that village, and said, I came to you asking that my goat was sick. What should I do? You said I should feed my goat some kerosene oil. I did exactly that, and my goat died. The elected representative told him, you asked me what did I do with that goat. You didn't ask me what happened to my goat. My goat had also died. Now, as young leaders across the world, for more than 7, 8, 9, 10 decades, for more than a century or two, there are too many goats across the world that have been fed kerosene oil. If we want to do that one more time, we'll be making a grave mistake as young people with some agency and as nations with enough sovereignty. It is important that when we talk about the future of work or healthcare, when we talk about our people, or when we talk about democracy, it is important that the kerosene oil that has been bottled and sent and shipped across borders and boundaries for hundreds of years, we are contextually intelligent about it. We are culturally sensitive about it. And we keep in mind that enough agency shall lie with people. Enough agency shall lie with young people to figure out how we want to move forward, to reinitiate conversations, so that never again a company or a country can infringe or trample upon the sovereignty of others, and then we study for hundreds of years in our centers and departments about those histories alone and not respond to it. So that while on one end technology makes our lives better and AI becomes our young siblings' best friends, we ensure that our data is as protected as our borders are. So that as multinational corporations and global market forces, consulting firms continue to expand and enter new frontiers, we are assured enough that all of our young friends across the world, their rights, their data, their biggest securities and insecurities, they are all addressed and protected and properly taken care of. The final part that I want to put forward is a story or a larger call that a patriot monk gave in this country. In India, on the 12th of January, we celebrate National Youth Day. It is on the birthday of a patriot monk. For many of our friends in different parts of the world, you might be wondering, how does the birthday of a saint become the National Youth Day of a country? But then that is the greatness of this land. There was a patriot monk from India who at the age of 29 went to Chicago when America was celebrating 400 years of its founding and had convened for a world parliament of religions. As the rest of the world talked about one path, Swami Vivekananda stood in Chicago and he talked about many paths. As the rest of the world talked about tolerance, Swami Vivekananda stood and spoke of the need of acceptance. That Vivekananda, when he traveled on a ship from India to Japan, met with an industrialist from India and said that India needs to become a frontier for science and technology. And if in the past several world leaders have recognized that, it is in those founding ideas that India's Vedanta can be coupled with science, and that is something that we proudly take forward. When that Swami Vivekananda went to Chicago, that evening of the World Fair, he had an ice cream with Nikola Tesla. They had large conversations, long enough, about sciences. When he went to New York City, his ideas inspired Rockefeller to start a foundation that would herald a new era into philanthropy. That Vivekananda said something that I think as Y20 nations, as G20 nations, we must keep in mind. But most importantly, as young people, we must take that forward. Swamiji would often say that my faith lies in the younger generation, the modern generation. Out of them will come lions who will solve these problems. But more importantly, he had a message for young people all across the world. He would often ask, do you feel intensely and deeply for those who are undergoing misery and sorrow all around the world? Our friends, our family. That is the first call as Y20 leaders, as young people across the world, we should keep in mind. In endless scrolling of social media feed, in endless typing, in online debates, do we pause enough, reflect enough, and feel deep enough for even those who don't look like us, or talk like us, or eat like us, or pray like us. But Swami Vivekananda does not stop there. He puts forward two more pathways for young people. The second one that he says is also as deep. He says, it is good that as young leaders you feel, but have you come up with a plan? It is not good enough that we feel for those who do not have a meal. It is not good enough that we feel for those who do not have all of their rights. But it is important to come up with a plan. It is important to get to work. And then Swamiji says, he puts forward the third part. He says, as young leaders, it is good that you feel deeply and intensely. It is good that you've put your head to work and you've come up with a plan. But it is even more important that you've decided in your mind that if all of your name and fame and wealth and glory was all lost, and even if the whole world was opposed to you, if you would still continue to work on that plan, it can be in any field, then you are a true young leader. Then you care deep enough. It does not just stop at dinner table conversation. Then you've come up with a plan. It does not just stop with a white paper. And then, if you keep moving forward, then you are going to be strong enough and dynamic enough that many more people will be lifted up because of your work. Many times, this idea of Swamiji, we sum it as a heart to feel, a head to think, and hands to get to work. And as I largely conclude my remark today, I think when India assumed its G20 presidency, the Honorable Prime Minister of this great republic stood up and said, let us heal our one earth, let us harmonize our one family, and let us give hope to our one future. I know for sure that in this land, we were talking about that heart that shall feel, not for Indians alone, but for all of the world, because we believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. When we talk about that head, it is not about a plan that is hatched in one corner of the world, but in every remote corner of the world, taking into account the forgotten men, women, children, and elderly, which our Y20 initiatives likely did this year when it went to the remotest corner of this country, from the foothills of Himalayas to the southernmost tip of our land. And finally, hands to work. Hands which are prepared for both kinds of tasks. Working when all opposition is there, and working when we need to clasp a few more hands as opposed to, confront at all times. So hopefully, with these ideas, we'll keep in mind that our task will decide the next 70, 80, or 90 years. And if the past 90 years were great enough, they would have really decided the course moving forward. We work because we are happy. We work because we are sad. We work because we can. Happy for all that we have inherited, sad for all that we need to fix, and we can because we are all sharing this planet as one family and we care about that one future. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Jai Vishwa.
Well, thank you, Shri Sharad Vivek Sagar ji, for sharing your experiences, your thoughts with us. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Indian Head of Delegation, Y20 India, Shri Fali Sijaria ji, to highlight the delegate perspective on Y20 process.
Greetings to the dignitaries on the dais and 100+ friends of mine sitting across, whom I feel I can remember each one by name and the interactions that we have had. So last, when I was speaking to a lot of you at Leh, I thought that this would be the most sleep deprived that I would be while speaking. And I approximately fell asleep on stage once, or maybe 3 or 4 times. But this time, I think I'm more sleep deprived, and I share that feeling with all the heads of delegations who are sitting in the front row. So perhaps all of us would have slept maybe 3 or 4 hours in the past 30 to 40 hours. including all the negotiations, and I don't know the others know or not, that none of the head of delegations have slept since day before yesterday night, because yesterday, the entire night, we all were negotiating in the Rudraksh Convention Center itself to get the communique. I don't know again that how many of you do know that 4 to 5 hours just before now, it was declared that Y20 summit would not have a communique. After 9 hours of continuous deliberations throughout the night. And the result of that was all of us broke into tears. That moment for me was a lesson that told how dedicated, how loyal each one of us was to the process, was to the outcome, and to our own people whom we strive to represent. Another important thing was how each head of delegation committed themselves to stay awake the entire night, come straight from the gala dinner, and in fact, most of the people decided to skip the cultural performance just because they were committed to the process and didn't flinch an eye to think whether they should go to the cultural evening or support their fellow delegates who were busy in a very tough situation in one of the tracks. So all of those experiences, I think for me, define how Y20 has come to be. Generally, there is a process where we ideally either speak about some of the core achievements or try to paint fascinating pictures about how the processes have been. I feel our journey has been filled with both ups and downs, and I would not say that our process or journey has been perfect. But I think that the delegates that we got, and with each one of you and your commitment, you made the journey a fulfilling one, that right at this point, we have a Communique. Yeah. So what I'm speaking is absolutely unprepared because everybody knows I was busy preparing something else, which we would perhaps be signing in some time, and which was something very crucial for which all of us were working for past several months. Now, everything that's coming out of my mind is very impromptu, again, which I feel all of you Now, at this point, I'm feeling that what I'm saying does not make a difference. It's just that all of you are so connected that you're clapping out of no reason. But so I feel that's the bond that we all have kind of built over the entire year, and something that would stay with us. We all coming from extremely diverse backgrounds, cultures, having something or the other to learn from each of one of us. I never felt when we were engaged in some sort of bilateral discussions, when those bilateral discussions turned into conversations about our families, our lives back at home, our jobs, our hobbies, and whatnot. I remember throughout the 4 days and even beyond, whenever most of the delegates saw me or members of our team, they used to check whether you are all right or not, whether you slept or not, are you drinking enough water or not. Those sort of connections, I feel, are the ones which would truly stay beyond the Y20 and which would define how effective our process is, how strongly we all are built as a community and would be able to take the advocacy process forward. What I'll also do from here is try to correct a mistake that I perhaps did 3 to 4 days back in Lucknow at the G20 School Student Summit that we are hosting. And I forgot to introduce or at least thank my team after the event. So I would also take this opportunity to thank the Delegate Affairs team, the LOCs, who have been continuously in touch with each one of you, handling all the problems, all the doubts, the visa issues, the structures, which at times became too much. And all of that work. So can we please have a huge round of applause for all of them? So I don't have any definitive agenda or point to make. I think our communique speaks a lot about the compromises and coordination that we all have made, the sort of understanding that we have reached, and the way we have been able to put our individual interests below and the interest of the global youth community forward. With this, I would not stretch too much because I know most of the people are feeling asleep just like me. Pardon me if I fell asleep on the stage once again. I'll try not to. And with this, I'd like to end. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Falis Ajarya ji, Indian Head of Delegation Y20 India, for highlighting the delegate perspective on the Y20 process. And you spoke about Common Connect. I believe, Faliji, that's why our Honorable Prime Minister said, one earth, one family, one future. So we all are connected, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I request Ms. Aditi Narayani Paswanji, track chair for the track Peace Building and Reconciliation, ushering in an era of no war, to kindly highlight the perspectives of the track chairs on Y20 process.
Namaskar to all of you, my honored guests, esteemed delegates, cherished participants. As we draw the curtains on the vibrant Y20 summit, hosted in the enchanting city of Banaras, we stand in awe of the collaborative spirit that has transformed this gathering into a resounding success with the completion of the communique, and of course the consistent effort which has gone nights and nights. In the heart of this ancient city, we embark on a journey of dialogue, innovation, and solidarity, guided by the aspirations of our youth. Today, we acknowledge and extend our heartfelt gratitude to the young minds who have been architects of this triumph. Their dedication, enthusiasm, and fresh perspectives have invigorated our discussions and propelled us towards meaningful solution. The 5 topics which were selected for deliberations during the Y20 summit under India's presidencies are future of work, peace building and reconciliation, shared future, health, well-being, sports, and all these important tracks, they held a very profound significance in shaping a more inclusive and sustainable global future, mirror the challenge of our times, and highlight India's commitment to fostering holistic progress. I would like to acknowledge the efforts of my fellow track chairs who have been working consistently, their research associates, the secretariat members, the secretariat of G20, the secretariat of Y20, and most importantly, our head of delegates, Falit, and the chair of the session, Sri Anmolji. A huge round of applause for both of them who are working tirelessly to make this a success. And of course, a huge round of applause for the G20 and Y20 secretariat. While drafting the communique as a track chair, we had been endowed with the responsibility of mediating the diverse views that were representative of diverse nation, culture, and backgrounds. Our youth participants have proven that their voices hold the power to reshape the world. Their insights have painted a panoramic view of our global challenges, inspiring us to forge stronger bonds and foster sustainable solutions. Their commitment to dialogue, mutual understanding, and constructive action serves as a beacon of hope, illuminating the path towards a more harmonious world. As we return to our respective corners of the globe, let us carry the wisdom and energy garnered from this summit. Let the lessons learned and connections forged in these halls become the seeds of lasting change. Let us not merely rest on the laurels of our achievement, but cultivate them into a transformative action that touch the lives of every individual and every nation. While concluding this historic event as a track chair, I express my deepest appreciation for the city of Banaras for its warmth and hospitality. The spiritual essence of the city has infused our discussion with a sense of purpose and reflection that will forever resonate in our heart. To the young participants who had traveled across the globe, you are living the embodiment of future we envision, a future beaming with hope, understanding, and progress. The success of this summit belongs to you. May your dedication continue to serve an inspiration to generations to come. As the curtains fall, let us move forward with renewed determination, united by the bonds during the time we had spent together in this beautiful state of Uttar Pradesh, and the beautiful city of Varanasi. May the spirit of our efforts here guide us as we work hand in hand to build a world that truly reflects the dream and aspirations of global youth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Aditi Narayani Paswanji, for your remarks. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to share with us achievements of Y20 India, may I invite Shri Pathikrit Payanji, Coordination Head, Y20 India Secretariat. Please.
Thank you. Falit said that he couldn't sleep for the last 4 days. He kept the secretariat awake for the last 9 months. And, imagine, so in Hindi, Dada means big brother. So he would call up at 3 o'clock at night, say, Dada, are you sleeping? So he would have an idea at night. I said, how can somebody sleep at 3 o'clock at night? We are awake, please tell me. So that's the way I worked with a wonderful team for the last 9 months. And the result of it, if I may say, there are so many of them, from Abhishek to Ajay to Priyank to the wonderful tractors and the delegates. The outcome of this, if I can enumerate, in the last 9 months, we have reached out physically to 500,000 young minds in India. And by the time the whole Y20 Secretariat presidency is going to go to the next country, Brazil, by 30th of November, we might reach out to 1 million. And if the hybrid mode, we perhaps have reached out to more than 1 million by now already. As we embarked on this journey in Varanasi, the most ancient living city, the place where since eternity people came in search of inner peace, there couldn't have been a better place where we were deliberating about how to make the world a better place. Friends, I think there would never be a time in the history of mankind or the destiny of mankind where everyone would agree to everything. But it was still very important, and it would still be always very important, that we find somewhere a little common ground to take forward the world and to make sure that the differences that we have are respected, that the differences we have do not take the shape of disputes, and the disputes do not take the shape of conflicts. And that is why one of the most fundamental objectives of India as the president of G20 has been to talk about reforms in multilateral institutions to make sure that disputes do not take the shape of conflicts, and therefore the conflict resolution mechanism has to be worked even more better way. As we stand here together, I think all of us, we can say one thing in solidarity, that terrorism has to be condemned in every way, in all kinds, if there has to be a peaceful world. More so, it is equally important that we bring the global north and the global south together. It is equally important for multilateral institutions to reform. And as the Prime Minister of India mentioned, that 4 Rs: respond, recognize, respect, reform. Respond to the priorities of global south by framing an inclusive and balanced international agenda. Recognize principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. We cannot expect a small and a marginalized small country to take the same burden of climate change management as bigger countries would take. And then he mentioned about respecting the sovereignty of every country. And last but not the least, the reforming of all multilateral institutions so that we can prevent the next conflict, we can prevent the next pandemic. It is not just about having the vaccines. It is about making sure that those pandemics are nipped in the bud. I must also mention one thing. As we start for a new journey, I'm very sure today's Y20 policymakers, today's Y20 people who actually deliberated upon the policy of a Communique would tomorrow become the real-time policymakers. And as we embark on that journey, we must understand that we are at a very wonderful cusp of time. A cusp of time where we have all the capacities and the technology in hand to either awaken the divine inside us or to create the monster that would destroy the world. The choice perhaps is ours. We have to talk about mental health. Prime Minister of India have repeatedly talked about mental health. To wonder, why is it that in this world today, the young generation, in spite of all the facilities they have, we see so many cases of suicides. We see so many cases of gun violence. We see so many cases of road rage or a fit of rage where they destroy their own lives or the lives of others. That is where it has been the ethos and the philosophy of this country taken forward by Prime Minister Modi, that modernity and technology has to be embedded with ethos, traditions, culture, spirituality, philosophy, ancient wisdoms to create the right kind of human being who would be responsible not for himself only or for the family, but for the greater good, for the greater world. And it is also very important to understand that as we embark on a new journey to talk about climate change, yes, climate is a very, very major issue. But if some countries have been a little slow in terms of managing the climate, doesn't mean that they're against the concept of climate change. It is all about making sure that the changes that we bring in are calibrated in a manner that they don't lead to disruptions. They don't lead to chaos. They don't lead to a situation where the moment we start moving from thermal to renewable energy in a very, very volatile environment where supply becomes a challenge, it leads to grid instability. Climate change is an issue which everyone expects to be taken care of, but the path might be a little different for all, and we have to accept and give that time. Also, when it comes to future of work, or when it comes to issues of other things, it is important for the new generation to come up with new ideas. Friends, I would not take much time, but let me tell you, you are in a country which believes in Atiti Devo Bhava, where we treat the guest as we treat the divine. And I'm thankful that as a country, we have tried our best to be the best of host possible. And India, a place where often people have come for inner peace, seeking the place for inner peace, seeking those answers to those questions which perhaps modernity and technology could not give. That is why creating the right kind of human being would require embedding the material wealth with a stable mind. And that's what we have to offer to the world. That it isn't just about what I have done or you have done. It is about creating a shared future where your destiny would depend upon my karma and my destiny would depend on yours. It is important to make sure that the future generations, while taking pride in everything, must never forget that when there was an earthquake somewhere, many countries did not do anything, but India went ahead. So you'd forget your differences when the world is in crisis. There are other countries which we may not have a diplomatic relation, but when they had a problem of food crisis, India went ahead and gave the food grain. That is the most essence thing. Material world, economy, everything comes else. If we kill the humanity within us, everything else goes away. And that's why we as a country, our prime minister have always mentioned about the importance of family. Because the first seeds of wisdom and education is always given by the father and the mother. That can never be replaced by anything, even the best of education. I wish all of you the best of luck for the rest of the time that you would be in India. And I'm sure in 20 years' time, Falit and all of you together would be deliberating in a real G20, the final G20 summit. Perhaps in 20 years' time, we would again have the presidency to do it here. And then you would be sitting here as presidents of your respective countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shri Pathikrit Payanji, Coordination Head, Y20 India Secretariat, for highlighting the achievements of Y20 India. And now for concluding remarks, may I invite Shri Anmol Sovit, Chair, Y20 India. Anmol ji.
Thank you, ma'am. Most respected motherland, dignitaries on dais, and my dear friends from globe. Once again, I would like to welcome you to this final session of Y20 India, where we are going to create a history. Friends, we all know the Y20 India initiative align with global shift towards sustainability, offering youth a platform to drive meaningful contribution and impact in ongoing green recovery effects. Under the dynamic leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, propelling Y20 India mission to empower and amplify youth voices on the global stage. His visionary approach rooted in innovation and commitment to a harmonious world fuels Y20 India unwavering dedication to shaping a brighter future for youth and generation to come. Y20 efforts in health, technology, peace building, innovation, and climate action contributed to SDG goals promoting good health, justice, industry, and environmental sustainability. Friends, I would like to quote something from the values and Mahabharata, the one of the guiding book we have in our country, that one should not do to others what one does not like. I'll repeat, one should not do what one does not like oneself. Serves as a guiding light for Y20 India, emphasize on shared future and governance. The principle implores us to treat others with the respect and fairness that we deserve. As we deliberate on our policies, engage in diplomacy, and foster partnerships, let us remember that a world built on principles to equality and understanding is a world of enduring peace and progress. When most of the Indians here and my friends from Globe, I would like to quote one example. You must have visited Lord Shiva temple, or if not, kindly search on Google, the Lord Shiva. You will find a small statue in front of Lord Shiva temple. In front of Lord Shiva, a statue. There is a small statue that we call Nandiji statue. I'll request you all, when you will leave this auditorium, kindly search if you have not visited the Lord Shiva temple. In that we will find the Nandiji statue is always in ready to move position. I am quoting this because we the youth, we are the future leader and we need to stand for what is right. Only standing and talking for what is right is not important. The most important thing is we need to start working for that. And in a Hindu culture, in our values in India, we see if you have decided and if you are agreed on something, you need to start working for that from that point of time. And I'm hopeful we will. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Shanmul Soviji, Chair Y20 India, for your concluding remarks. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for signing of communique, we'll invite head of delegations by calling the names one by one. So we humbly request HODs to kindly come accordingly. And first, may I invite head of delegation from Argentina. Yeah, you have to sign there. Just they're bringing in one table. Yeah, ma'am, just. So now, ladies and gentlemen, our head of delegations will sign the communique. So first we have HOD from Argentina. Anmol Sobiji is presenting a flag to HOD of Argentina. Thank you, ma'am. We now invite head of delegation from Australia. May I request Head of Delegation from Brazil? Thank you. I would now request Head of Delegation from Canada. Thank you, ma'am. May I now request Head of Delegation from China? Okay, I was given the name. Okay, so next, can we have Head of Delegation from France? Yeah, please, ma'am, please come. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Head of Delegation from France. May I now request HOD from Germany? May I invite HOD from India? I now request HOD from Indonesia. I'll now request HOD from Italy to kindly come and sign the communique. Next, I request HOD from Japan. I'll now request Head of Delegation from Mexico. May I now invite Head from Republic of Korea. I'll now request Head of Delegation from Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, now we invite Head from Saudi Arabia. May I now request Head of Delegation from South Africa? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now request head of delegation from Turkey. I'll request head of delegation from United Kingdom. May I now invite head of delegation from United States of America. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we invite HOD from European Union. Thank you, Anmolji, and we thank all the HODs for signing the communique. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll request Y20 Chair Mr. Anmol Sovitji to announce the formal adoption of communique.
Hello everyone. How's the Josh? Now, I would like to inform you that we all have agreed after a democratic and elaborate discussion. So we, all the team Y20, after an elaborate and wide discussion, we all have agreed on the points. We have all agreed on the communique. Just now we have signed. So I formally adopt the Y20 2023 communique on behalf of all the Y20 delegation present here. Thank you.
Thank you, Anmol Sovitji, Y20 Chair. And now for the release of Y20 2023 communique, may I request Chair Y20 India, Shri Anmol Sovitji, Mr. Michael Victor Sianipar, Organizing Committee Representative from Indonesia, and Brazilian Organizing Committee Representative, Mr. Salvino Oliveira Barbosa. I request you to kindly come onto the dais. I request Mr. Salvino Oliveira Barbosa. Mr. Salvino, I request you to please stay on with us.
Vamos lá. Tá. Junta aqui, Ingrid. Boa tarde a todos e todos.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Gostaria de começar esse discurso agradecendo as pessoas que foram fundamentais para que esse momento fosse possível.
I would like to start my speech thanking everybody that made this moment possible.
A começar pelo presidente da República Federativa do Brasil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva.
It starts for the Brazilian President, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva.
Ao querido prefeito da cidade do Rio de Janeiro, da qual eu sou habitante,
To the Mayor of City of Rio de Janeiro, Eduardo Paes.
Eduardo Paes, ao nosso querido secretário nacional de Juventude, Ronald Sorriso, e ao nosso querido presidente do Conselho Nacional de Juventude do Brasil, Marcos Barão.
To the National Youth Secretary, Ronald Sorriso, and the President of the National Council of Youth, Marcos Barão.
A essas pessoas, o meu muito obrigado.
To those people, thank you.
Gostaria também de agradecer a todo o povo indiano que nos recebeu com muito carinho, com muito afeto e de coração aberto ao longo de todos esses dias.
I would like to thank India and Indian people that receive us with open hearts those days.
De maneira muito especial, como chefe da delegação no Brasil, aqui no Y20, gostaria de agradecer ao honorável ministro de Juventude, Esportes e Governo da Índia, o senhor Shri Arug Singh Thakur.
In a special way, I would like to thank the Minister of Youth of India.
Yes, mais
I
fácil.
will try the name.
Em seu nome, agradeço ao governo da Índia, ao time do Y20 da Índia e aos mentores do time e ao chair, Emon Savid.
I would like, in name of the minister, to thank the Y20 Secretariat, the Y20 staff, the delegation of India, in the name of the chair of Y20.
Chefe da delegação, e todo o seu conjunto de delegados, mas em especial o chefe da delegação da Índia, Falit. Uma salva de palmas para o Falit.
Clap your hands for Falit, please. He said before it that he would like to congratulate all the delegates in name of Falit.
O trabalho que vocês realizaram... Opa, me perdi aqui. Um momento.
A moment, please.
O trabalho que vocês realizaram honra a história desse importante espaço de juventude e certamente concretiza um legado para a nossa geração e para as próximas edições do Y20.
The work that was done by India is historical for Y20 and gives us a lot of hope in the future.
Eu estou aqui numa missão muito importante de representar o governo brasileiro. E nesse aspecto histórico de estar aqui, eu queria ressaltar 3 pontos muito importantes.
I'm here in a really important mission to the Brazilian government that I would like to register now in 3 points.
O primeiro ponto é que o Brasil está de volta.
First, it's important to highlight that Brazil is back.
Brazil is back. Depois de 4 anos de muitos desafios e de um governo que destilava muito ódio, nós voltamos a fazer uma política de virtude, uma política que constrói pontes para dentro e para fora do Brasil.
After years of hate in Brazil and isolation of the world, we've been back to build bridges with the world and reestablish the international politics with virtues.
Por isso, eu estou aqui representando o governo brasileiro, o país do Brasil, mas também estou representando a cidade do Rio de Janeiro, a qual eu faço parte do Poder Executivo, o que reforça a nossa parceria nas diversas esferas.
That's why I'm here representing Brazilian government, Brazilian people, but also the municipality of Rio de Janeiro.
O que me leva ao segundo motivo. O Brasil viverá um momento histórico. Pela primeira vez receberá a cúpula do G20.
The secret reason for this historic moment is that Brazil is hosting the G20 meeting for the first time. And the Rio...
O encontro acontecerá na cidade do Rio de Janeiro, a cidade da Copa do Mundo, das Olimpíadas e das praias. Nós estamos prontos, estamos preparados para receber a maior cúpula econômica do mundo e o Brasil, mais uma vez, está de volta e o Rio está pronto.
The Rio de Janeiro of the World Cup, the Olympics and the beaches is ready. We are ready to host the biggest economic summit in the world. Brazil is back and Rio is ready.
That's why I've just announced that Rio de Janeiro will host the Y20 2024.
Por fim, mas não menos importante, vivemos um momento único, pois estivemos aqui reunidos na Índia durante 4 dias para discutir o futuro das juventudes.
Last but not least, we are an unique moment and we are gathered here in India for 4 days to discuss the future of youth.
Isso significa que trabalhamos em prol do futuro do planeta. Pode parecer clichê dizer que, assim como Martin Luther King, eu tenho um sonho. Mas eu tenho mesmo um sonho. E um sonho que tem as melhores inspirações. Eu sonho com o dia em que as nações entenderão que planejar o futuro é necessariamente planejar um desenvolvimento sustentável e colocar a juventude na centralidade do debate.
This means that the secret for the sake of the futures of the planet is meant to the future of the sacred planets. It's made so cliché to say that, like Martin Luther King, I have a dream, but I haven't found a better inspiration. I dream of the days when the nation will understand that there is no way to plan the planet's futures without sustainable development policies that place with the youth of the center of the debate.
Saio desse encontro com a certeza de que nós, jovens, somos o futuro daqueles que lutaram, Saio desse encontro com a certeza de que nós, jovens, somos frutos daqueles que vieram antes de nós e somos o farol daqueles que virão depois de nós. Levo comigo a certeza de que esses espaços de participação civil são fundamentais para construirmos o futuro do planeta que queremos agora.
I leave this event and come back to Brazil with the certain that the youth is the future, being a spotlight to the new generations. I come back to Brazil with the certain that this space for youth people are important to build a better world. Thank you very much.
Agradeço a cada um de vocês pelo carinho, pela dedicação e pela construção nesses dias. Esse foi, como eu disse, um momento histórico para nós. E eu espero que a cidade do Rio de Janeiro e o Brasil possam estar à altura do que foi esse encontro. A Índia nos abraçou e nós agora queremos abraçar o G20 na cidade do Rio de Janeiro. Muito obrigado a cada um de vocês e nos vemos em 2024.
Thank you very much, everyone. It was a great pleasure to be here. India inspired us, and I hope to see all in Rio next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Salvino Oliveira Barbosa, Brazilian Head of Delegation. I would request you to please stay on with us on stage. And I now request Y20 India Chair Shri Anmol Soviji to hand over Y20 flag to the Brazilian Head of Delegation. Thank you, Mr. Salvino Oliveira Barbosa, and we wish you and Republic of Brazil great success for the G20 presidency and Y20 presidency. And thank you, Anmol Soviji, Y20 Chair. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for word of thanks, may I invite Ms. Drishti Raval, Secretary, Policy and Research, Y20 Secretariat.
Where's the energy in the room? We're coming to the end of this. Where's the energy in the room? I stand here today as a proud and grateful member of Y20 India to propose this vote of thanks at the successful conclusion of the Y20 India Summit in the bustling city of Varanasi in the state of Uttar Pradesh. On behalf of Y20 India, I would like to thank and express my immense gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, for bringing this honor to our country and being an evergreen source of inspiration to the youth of this nation. I place on record our gratitude to the G20 Sherpa, Shri Amitabh Kanji, and the G20 Secretariat for their generous support and guidance. I take this opportunity to heartily thank the Honorable Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Shri Anurag Singh Thakurji, and the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports for their constant encouragement and enablement to Y20 India. I express our gratitude to the Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Shri Yogi Adityanath ji, and the Government of Uttar Pradesh for their relentless efforts and cooperation towards the Y20 Summit. Our heartfelt thanks to all the delegates of the G20 member states, invited countries, and international organizations for making this endeavor such a resounding success. Thank you to all the states and union territories who joined us in this journey. Coming to my favorite part, our immense gratitude to our mentors, Dr. Anirban Ganguly ji and Dr. Vijay Chauthaiwale ji, Coordination Head Shri Patikrit Pain ji, our convener Ajay Kashyap ji, the Chair Y20 India, Anmol Soviji ji, our secretaries Arya Jha ji, Valentina Brahma ji, Abhishek Malhotra ji, and Akash Jha ji, our treasurer Om Priyadarshi ji, our track chairs Aditi Narayani ji, Devan Shah ji, Lakshit Mittal ji, Suyash Pandey ji, and Kunal Tilak ji. Our special coordinator Priyank Kumar Chauhan ji, and Associate Palak Kohli ji. Our advisors Shivanand Dwivedi ji, Abhinav Prakash ji, and Varun Jhaveri ji. Our beloved associates from all the teams who worked really hard and were with all of us together in making this event such a huge success. The staff at Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation. Our immense thanks to our outreach partners, Think India, World Organization of Students and Youth, Studomatrix, Ingenious, Medivision, Savishkar, Jignasa, Students for Development, Shodh, Agrivision, and Yuva Manthan. Our gratitude to our knowledge partners, Rishihood University, Malviya Center for Peace Research at Banaras Hindu University, Institute of Town Planners of India, United Nations in India, MIT School of Governance, Pune, Gujarat National Law University, National Disaster Management Authority, and our reviewers. Our interns who were with us along this journey, and at last but not the least, the technical staff, the event management company, and the other support staff for helping us and cooperating with us all throughout this Y20 summit. And until next time, Shubhamastu, Namaste, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Drishti Rawal, Secretary, Policy and Research, Y20 Secretariat, for word of thanks. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude Youth 20 Summit India 2023. We hope and believe you had good time in India, visiting places, meeting people of India, and getting to know our culture. And I must say, our philosophy is, guest is God, Atithi Devo Bhav. So we humbly request you to kindly do visit again. Bring your friends, relatives, colleagues. We always welcome you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Namaskar. Jai Hind. Jai Bharat. And now we'll have a press conference. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there is an announcement for you. After this press conference, we'll proceed for river cruise from the auditorium itself. So kindly board in your respective vehicles. Thank you.
all the delegates and the secretariat members kindly assemble outside in the lobby area for a group photo. Please proceed to the lobby area for a group photo. All the delegates and the secretariat members.
चेक 1 2 दोनों
जिला प्रशासन और G20 Y20 सेक्रेटेरिएट की ओर से आप सभी लोग का स्वागत करता हूं। जैसा कि हम सभी जानते हैं कि 1 दिसंबर 2022 को भारत को G20 की प्रेसिडेंसी मिली थी। उसी के तहत कई कार्यक्रमों का आयोजन पूरे भारत के अंदर हो रहा है। हमारा सौभाग्य है कि वाराणसी के अंदर कई G20 के कार्यक्रम को करने का वाराणसी को मौका। एग्रीकल्चर साइंटिस्ट की एक बैठक हो चुकी है। इसके बाद डेवलपमेंट मिनिस्टर की एक बैठक हुई थी। तीन दिनों तक कार्यक्रम के दौरान काफ़ी सत्रों का आयोजन हुआ, साथ ही ब्रेन स्टॉर्मिंग कई सेशन भी चले और फाइनल आज का दिन जो है कि इन सभी चीज़ों से होता हुआ आज हम लोग अंतिम पड़ाव पर पहुँचे हैं। Y20 की यात्रा की अगर बात करें तो G20 के साथ ही Y20 ने भी अपनी यात्रा स्टार्ट कर दी थी। फरवरी महीने में गुवाहाटी से इसका जो सफ़र हुआ था वो अप्रैल में लेह लद्दाख में एक सम्मेलन हुआ था। इसके अलावा पूरे भारत में विभिन्न विश्वविद्यालयों, संस्थानों में, स्कूलों में Y20 के अंतर्गत कई कार्यक्रम आयोजित किए गए, जहां से युवाओं से उनकी राय भी ली गई और उनके जो ज़रूरतें हैं उसके बारे में जानी गई। आज ये हमारा सौभाग्य है कि इन्हीं चीज़ों पर चर्चा के लिए इस प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस का आज आयोजन किया गया है। इस मौके पर हमारे साथ में श्री पंकज कुमार सिंह जी हैं, जो युवा मामले मंत्रालय के डायरेक्टर हैं और शुरुआत से ही Y20 की यात्रा से जुड़े रहे हैं। शुरुआती दौर से जो पूरी इसकी तैयारी चल रही थी से लेकर जो अभी वर्तमान शिखर सम्मेलन जो अंतिम पड़ाव है उसकी यात्रा में साक्षी रहे हैं। मैं उनका स्वागत करता हूं। साथ ही यहाँ पर हमारे जिलाधिकारी, वाराणसी के लोकप्रिय जिलाधिकारी श्री S रामलिंगम सर हैं। मैं उनका स्वागत करता हूं। उनके नेतृत्व में वाराणसी ने 3 सफल G20 का आयोजन संपन्न करवाया है और साथ ही आने वाले दिनों में एक संस्कृति मंत्रालय का एक G20 सम्मेलन होने वाला है और अगले महीने फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री की भी एक सम्मेलन यहाँ पर आयोजित हो रही है। तो मैं ज़्यादा समय नहीं लेते हुए मैं आगे के लिए श्री पंकज कुमार सिंह जी को आमंत्रित करता हूं कि Y20 को जो ये अभी शिखर सम्मेलन संपन्न हुआ है उसके बारे में हमारे मीडिया साथियों को जानकारी उपलब्ध कराएं। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद। सबसे पहले मैं बताना चाहूँगा हमारे साथ Y20 चेयर श्री अनमोल शोवित भी यहाँ मौजूद हैं और उनके अलावा जो हेड ऑफ डेलीगेशन इंडिया है मिस्टर फलित सिजारिया, ही इज़ ऑल्सो हियर, और एक ट्रैक चेयर जो है लक्षित मित्तल, ये भी हमारे साथ मौजूद है। तो सबसे पहले आप सब लोगों का धन्यवाद, आपने बड़ी पेशेंटली हमारा इंतज़ार किया। चूँकि कुछ आप ये देख ही सकते हैं कि कितना इंटरेस्ट और कितना इन्वॉल्वमेंट डिस्कशंस में रहा सभी डेलीगेट्स का, जिसकी वजह से कल पूरी रात भी डिस्कशन हुए, मॉर्निंग में डिस्कशन हुए और थोड़ा सा डिले हमारी जो फाइनल प्रोग्राम था उसमें हुआ। परंतु इस डिले के बावजूद मैं कह सकता हूं कि ये एक इस बात का भी प्रतीक है कि उसमें डिस्कशन और इन्वॉल्वमेंट कितना ज़्यादा है। ये एक दर्शाता है कि यूथ अपनी जो पोजीशन है, अपना जो रोल है उसको अच्छे से समझता है दुनिया भर में और कैसे उसको आर्टिकुलेट करने हैं अपने थॉट्स को, वो इस चीज़ को भी जानता है। तो ये जो पूरी जर्नी रही हमारी Y20 में, इसको ऑर्गेनाइज़ किया Y20 इंडिया जो एंगेजमेंट ग्रुप है उन्होंने, जिसमें Y20 सेक्रेटरीट का अहम योगदान रहा। मंत्रालय ने उनको सपोर्ट किया, जहां पर भी पॉसिबल वे में हमने जो गतिविधियां Y20 इंडिया ने की उनमें उनकी कोशिश की, हमने उनको जो भी आवश्यक सहायता थी वो उपलब्ध कराने की। और मुझे खुशी है कि इस सभी पूरी जर्नी में Y20 इंडिया ने जो एंगेजमेंट ग्रुप्स और यूथ को जो एंगेज किया देश भर में, वो सराहनीय है। मुझे खुशी है कहते हुए कि ये एक सक्सेसफुल समिट रही जिसमें कम्युनिके फाइनलाइज किया गया और उसको अडॉप्ट किया गया, और जिसके लिए Y20 इंडिया और सभी डेलीगेशंस जो G20 कंट्रीज़, गेस्ट कंट्रीज़ और इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से यहाँ आए, वो सभी बधाई के पात्र हैं। अब इस बारे में बताने के लिए, क्योंकि ये मैंने मंत्रालय का रोल बताया, अब इसमें फर्दर बताने के लिए मैं आमंत्रित करता हूँ श्री अनमोल शोभित को और उनकी टीम को कि वो बताएं कि किस तरह से और क्या क्या डिस्कशन ब्रॉडली इस Y20 कम्युनिक में हुए। इस प्रेस ब्रीफिंग के बाद जो कम्युनिक है वो आप सब लोगों से साझा किया जाएगा, विच विल बी अ पब्लिक डॉक्यूमेंट। सो आई वेलकम मिस्टर अनमोल शोभित।
धन्यवाद पंकज जी और माननीय अनमोल जी, मुझे मौका देने के लिए कि भारत का प्रतिनिधित्व कर पाऊँ यूथ 20 जैसे एक सम्मानजनक प्लेटफॉर्म पर। यूथ 20 में पिछले 2 दिवस से बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण विषयों पर डिलिब्रेशंस और नेगोशिएशंस हुए हैं, परंतु यह जो नेगोशिएशंस, वार्तालाप, चर्चाएं थीं, वह केवल इन 2 दिवसों तक सीमित नहीं थीं, अपितु पिछले 7 से 8 महीनों से लगातार चल रही थी। सभी देशों द्वारा 5 महत्वपूर्ण विषयों पर एक प्रतिनिधि अपॉइंट किया गया था, जिनके माध्यम से लगातार चर्चाएं चल रही थीं। तो उन सभी चर्चाओं के शिखर सम्मेलन के तौर पर हमारे Y20 समिट में सब लोगों का बनारस आगमन हुआ और पिछले 2 दिवस बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से डिटेल से पॉइंट बाय पॉइंट एक क्लॉज पर चर्चाएं हुई। काफ़ी विषयों पर हमें देखने को मिला कि ग्लोबल नॉर्थ और ग्लोबल साउथ के जो विचार थे वो नहीं मिलते हैं, या फिर ऐसे कई विषय आए जिन पर वो लोग आंख से आंख देखकर भी नहीं मिला पाए, और ऐसे समय पर भारत ने एक निर्णायक भूमिका निभाते हुए उन सभी को साथ लाने का काम किया। हमारी जो नेगोशिएशंस थी वो सामान्य तौर पर कल शाम तक समाप्त हो जानी थी, परंतु विभिन्न प्रकार की परेशानियों, समस्याओं और अलग अलग प्रकार के जो मुद्दे थे उन पर डिटेल में चर्चा होने के कारण कल पूरी रात यह चर्चाएं चली एवं सुबह 9 या 10 बजे के आसपास तो इस प्रकार प्रतीत होने लगा कि ये सभी डेलीगेट जो हैं वह साथ में आना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा। जैसा कि आप सब जानते हैं, G20 डिलिब्रेशन प्रोसेस कंसेंसस के तरीके से चलता है, जिसके कारण G20 के हर सदस्य को अपने कम्युनिक में लिखे हर एक शब्द के साथ सहमत होना पड़ता है, अपितु वह कम्युनिक नहीं पास हो सकता है। तो यहाँ पर हमारा मेजॉरिटी या अधिक संख्या का सिद्धांत काम नहीं करता है कि आप 50% +1 सदस्यों को अगर कन्वर्ट कर लें या कन्विंस कर लें तो आपका कम्युनिक पास हो जाएगा। और जहाँ आपको एक व्यक्ति और सदस्य देश को कन्विंस करना होता है तो काम काफ़ी कठिन हो जाता है। तो इसी प्रकार सुबह तक ऐसा लग रहा था कि मान लीजिए कम्युनिक नहीं भी आ पाएगा, परंतु उसके बाद लगातार डिलिब्रेशंस चली। पिछले 30 घंटों में मुश्किल से 4 या 5 घंटे हमारे डेलीगेट सोए हुए होंगे, पर सब ने अपने खुद के मन से लगातार डिलिब्रेशंस करी, कई इवेंट्स छोड़े, पर यह इंश्योर किया कि आज हमारे कार्यक्रम के समय तक सभी विश्व के युवाओं के लिए Y20 कम्युनिक तैयार हो। यह Y20 में आए हुए युवाओं का, उनके देश के युवाओं एवं विश्व में स्थित बाकी जगहों पर जो युवा हैं उनके लिए एक जो उनकी प्रतिबद्धता है वह दिखाता है। सबसे अच्छी बात यह है कि हमारा जो Y20 कम्युनिक है उसका पहला ही जो ऑपरेटिव क्लॉज है वह भारत की तरफ से और हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की ओर से अफ्रीकन यूनियन को G20 का एक परमानेंट सदस्य बनाने के लिए प्रपोजल दिया गया है, उसको स्वीकार करता है, उसको कई तरीके से सेलिब्रेट करता है और यह डिमांड करता है कि सभी G20 देश जो हैं वह भारत की अध्यक्षता में और भारत की इस डिमांड का समर्थन करें और यह किसी भी तरह इंश्योर करें कि G20 एक G21 में तब्दील हो और अफ्रीकन यूनियन जैसे और भी जो विश्व के संगठन हैं वह G20 का हिस्सा बने और G20 इंक्लूसिव तौर पर आगे बढ़े। इसी के साथ हम लोगों का कम्युनिक 5 विषयों पर पास हुआ। धन्यवाद।
मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा कलेक्टर वाराणसी और उनकी टीम का, जिन्होंने बहुत ही उम्दा अरेंजमेंट यहाँ किए और ख़ास करके जिसमें जो कोऑर्डिनेशन रहा, लॉजिस्टिक्स अरेंजमेंट, सिक्योरिटी स्पेशली, तो बधाई के पात्र हैं। मैं उनसे रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा वो अपनी तरफ से अगर कुछ बताना चाहें, साझा करना चाहें।
श्री पंकज जी और मंचासीन सभी अतिथिगण और हमारे पत्रकार मित्रों, ये हम सबके लिए एक भारत के लिए ही गौरव का विषय है जो G20 को पूरा होस्ट करने का इस साल अवसर मिला, और वाराणसी प्रशासन के लिए ये एक गौरव की बात है। यहाँ पे G20 उसमें भी Y20 को करना एक अपने आप में एक महत्वपूर्ण बात है, इसलिए कि क्योंकि बाकी G20 तो जो प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो को हम लोग उस पर डिस्कशन होती है, ये फ्यूचर जो कंट्रीज़ के जो पॉलिसीज़ है या यूथ का जो एस्पिरेशंस है उसको डिस्कस करने का एक बहुत अच्छा मंच है, और एक दूसरे के विचार को जानने का, और आगे किस तरह हम लोगों की जो गवर्नेंस हो या उसकी जो कंट्रीज़ की पॉलिसीज़ हो वो रहेगा, उसके बारे में भी एक आपको एक विंडो इसमें देखने के लिए एक अवसर मिलता है। मैं पत्रकार मित्रों को भी धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं, आपका सहयोग हमेशा मिलता रहा, कवरेज अच्छे से मिलता रहा, और हमने कोशिश ये की कि जो भी हमारे अतिथि बन के यहाँ पे विभिन्न देशों से जो अतिथिगण आए वो एक अच्छा अनुभव लेके जाएं, और क्योंकि विश्व की सबसे पुरानी एक ओल्डेस्ट लिविंग सिटी है, वर्ल्ड्स ओल्डेस्ट लिविंग सिटी है, तो यहाँ की जो भी कल्चर हम उनको दिखाना चाहते थे, प्रयास ये किया था कि यहाँ की जो कल्चर है, यहाँ की जो ट्रेडिशन है उसको दिखाने के लिए प्रशासन ने प्रयास किया। आप सबकी इसमें सहयोग मिला, और शुरू से जब से G20 का जब भारत में आया था, आपने भी देखा होगा कई सारे जन भागीदारी इवेंट्स हमने ऑर्गेनाइज किया, जिसमें विभिन्न स्टेक होल्डर्स, अलग अलग स्टेक होल्डर्स, और स्पेशली यूथ जो हमारे 4 यूनिवर्सिटीज़ है उनके यूथ को भी हमने इसमें इन्वॉल्व करके किया था। और आज ये खुशी की बात है कि एक सफलतापूर्वक ये Y20 का आयोजन यहाँ पे समाप्त हुआ। मैं श्री पंकज जी को और उनके पूरे टीम को बधाई देता हूँ जिला प्रशासन की ओर से, और आप सबको भी मैं बधाई देता हूँ, और आगे भी हम लोग और भी इवेंट्स अब आने वाले हैं, ये उम्मीद करता हूँ आप सबके कोऑपरेशन का। जय हिंद।
हमारे एक ट्रैक चेयर लक्षित मित्तल भी यहाँ पर है, मैं उनसे गुजारिश करूँगा अगर वो अपने विचार को साझा करना चाहें।
धन्यवाद। मैं Y20 की पूरी टीम की तरफ से सबसे पहले माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूँ। मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ यूथ अफेयर्स एंड स्पोर्ट्स जिन्होंने पूरी इस Y20 प्रक्रिया में पहले दिन से इस शिखर सम्मेलन तक अपना साथ दिया है, हमें गाइड किया है, और पूरे हर इवेंट को ऑर्गेनाइज करने में एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण हमारा साथ दिया है, उनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी श्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी का धन्यवाद करना चाहते हैं कि उन्होंने हमें ये अवसर दिया कि वाराणसी जैसे पावन शहर में हम अपना शिखर सम्मेलन कर पाए। वाराणसी प्रशासन का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि उन्होंने हमें यहाँ के कल्चर से सारे डेलीगेट्स को जो कि लगभग 40 से ऊपर देशों के डेलीगेट्स को यहाँ के कल्चर से, यहाँ की संस्कृति से अवगत कराया। उनके पूरे सम्मेलन के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। पूरा Y20 प्रक्रिया इस साल दिखाता है कि ये भारत के लोकतांत्रिक जो मूल्य हैं उन पे चला है, और उनसे ना सिर्फ एक देश में जो भारत सालों से, सदियों से विश्वास रखते रहा है अपने लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों में, वो उन्हीं मूल्यों से पूरे विश्व तक अपनी बात रख सकता है और पूरे विश्व को एक मुट्ठी में बांध के वन फ्यूचर वन फैमिली की तरफ बढ़ सकता है। Y20 ने G20 मोटो वासुधैव कुटुंबकम को पूरा जीने का कोशिश किया है। हम सभी Y20 टीम को अगर देखें तो वहाँ से उनके हमारे नॉमिनेशन से लेके ये पूरे प्रोसेस को जैसे चला है, ये दिखाता है कि एक डेमोक्रेटिक शक्ति का जब दुनिया में विसर्जन होता है तो उससे क्या कुछ हम प्राप्त नहीं कर सकते। Y20 की पूरी टीम में कोई भी किसी राजनीतिक बैकग्राउंड से नहीं आता, और फिर भी माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने इतनी इम्पॉर्टेंट जिम्मेदारी जो हमें दी, उसके लिए वो दिखाता है कि जब एक देश के राजनीति में, जब एक देश के लोकतंत्र में, जब एक देश की लीडरशिप में डेमोक्रेटिक वैल्यूज़ को आगे रखा जाता है तो उससे क्या इम्पैक्ट किया जा सकता है। जो बात है नेगोशिएशंस की पूरे Y20 कम्युनिक के फॉर्मुलेशन की, उसमें 3 मुख्य चीज़ों को निकला है कि हमने भारत की जो पारंपरिक जो स्टैंड रहा है, जो व्यू पॉइंट रहा है, उसको रखने में और उस पर G20 कंट्रीज़ की सहमति बनाने में अपना भूमिका निभाई है। वो चाहे काउंटर टेररिज्म स्ट्रेंथनिंग हो, वो चाहे क्लाइमेट फंडिंग हो, जो हम पूरे ग्लोबल स्तर पे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की अध्यक्षता में कर रहे हैं, वो Y20 ने भी उसको रीअफर्म किया है। दूसरी चीज़, भारत ने अपने मूल्यों को दर्शान किया है और उस पर पूरे दुनिया का कंसेंसस बिल्ड करने की कोशिश करी है। हमारा एक ट्रैक था पीस बिल्डिंग, उसमें जब मुख्य देश एक्सटर्नल पीस की बात करते हैं तो हमने इंटरनल पीस की भी बात करी है। हमने बात करी है कि योगा, ऑल्टरनेट मेडिसिन, ऐसी सुविधाओं से कैसे हम इंटरनल पीस तक भी पहुंच सकते हैं, और वो एक भारत की सोच का एक मुख्य अंग रहा है। और तीसरा कि आने वाले समय में हम क्या कर सकते हैं, युवा क्या चाहते हैं, युवा क्या बताना चाहते हैं कि G20 लीडर्स को अपनी पॉलिसीज़ फॉर्मुलेट कराने के लिए अपने हित में क्या करना चाहते हैं, वो उस पर हमने बहुत जोर दिया है, बहुत बल दिया है। इसमें फ्यूचर ऑफ वर्क हमारा जो एक ट्रैक था, उसकी पूरी बातचीत आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस हो, मशीन लर्निंग हो, इनकी बात करके और इनकी पॉलिसीज़ कैसे बननी चाहिए उस पर बात करी है। क्लाइमेट चेंज जो कि युवाओं के लिए एक बहुत मुख्य मुद्दा है, जो कि ऐसा एक मुद्दा है जिसमें युवाओं को अपनी प्राथमिकता निभाने का एक अवसर दिखता है और उन्हीं को इसके परिणामों से डील करना पड़ेगा, उनको ये दिखता है। वो उन्होंने भारत की अध्यक्षता में एक सफल प्रयास किया है कि उसकी पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेट कर पाएँ। पिछले 30 घंटे में लगभग 25 घंटे ये नेगोशिएशन चला है। ये भी दर्शाता है कि भारत पूरे G20 में एक अपनी ऊर्जा, जो अपनी युवा ऊर्जा भारत में अपने डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड से आती है, वो डाल पाया है और उससे एक सक्सेसफुल कम्युनिक को शेप कर पाया है। तो ये G20 की प्रक्रिया को भारत इर्रिवर्सिबल इम्पैक्ट छोड़ के जाएगा और हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि अगले देश इसको कंटिन्यू करेंगे। थैंक यू।
हमारे साथ यहाँ उपस्थित युवा और खेल मंत्रालय के माननीय रिस्पेक्टेड निर्देशक श्री पंकज सिंह जी, डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट रामालिंगम सर, फलित जी, लक्षित जी, आज Y20 का फाइनल समिट कंप्लीशन हुआ है। समय मैं कुछ विषय आप लोगों के सामने रखना चाहूँगा। जब से Y20 की शुरुआत हुई उस वक्त से लेकर के जो हमारा कर्टन रेजर इवेंट था और आज तक Y20 इंडिया ने प्रतिदिन जो आज हम प्रेजेंट कर पाए हैं, छोटा सा विषय आप सभी के सामने साझा करना चाहूँगा। एक परिवार में हम सहमति बनाने में काफ़ी वक्त लग जाता है, लेकिन 20 देश जो पूरे विश्व के 70% जनसंख्या का कंट्रोल करते हैं, जिनके पास कंट्रोल है, और उस देश के युवाओं ने भारत द्वारा और भारतीय युवाओं द्वारा ड्राफ्ट कॉम्युनिक पे अपने सुझावों के साथ उसको एक्सेप्ट किया है। ये हम सभी भारतीयों के लिए गर्व की बात है। और इस पूरे प्रोसेस में हमने इसको डेमोक्रेटाइज करके भारत के हर एक कोने में भारतीय युवाओं का सुझाव लिया, पहला विषय। दूसरा महत्वपूर्ण विषय ये है कि हम फाइनल कॉम्युनिक जो पिछले बार नहीं आ पाया था, लेकिन भारत फाइनल ड्राफ्ट जो है फाइनल कॉम्युनिक लेके आया भारतीय Y20। तीसरा महत्वपूर्ण विषय कि हमारे कॉम्युनिक जो हमने प्रेजेंट किया है, जो आदरणीय निदेशक जी ने बताया कि आप सभी को मिल जाएगा, इस कॉम्युनिक में हम भारतीय कार्यों को और भारतीय एग्जाम्पल को सभी ने सर्वसम्मति से एक्सेप्ट किया। उनके विषयों को भी हमने उसमें डाला है, लेकिन भारतीय कार्यों को एग्जाम्पलीफाई करने का जो कार्य हमने किया है और जो एक्सेप्टेंस हुआ है, ये दर्शाता है कि G20 की अध्यक्षता के साथ भारत को क्या प्राप्त हुआ है। चौथा महत्वपूर्ण विषय जो भारत ने पाया, भारतीय युवाओं ने पाया, नेटवर्किंग हुई है। आप इसके पूर्व में जो हमारा अभी लास्ट इवेंट हो रहा था, उसमें आपने देखा होगा कि पूरे देश G20 के युवाओं ने कितनी हर्ष के साथ कॉम्युनिक पे साइन किया और एक बॉन्डिंग हुई है हमारे हेड ऑफ डेलीगेशन, हमारी पूरी टीम के साथ। इसका लाभ ये है कि आने वाले वर्ष में आने वाले वर्ष में अपने देश का नेतृत्व करेंगे, तो Y20 के माध्यम से जो भारतीय युवाओं की और Y20 की टीम की जो नेटवर्किंग हुई है, पर्सनल बॉन्डिंग हुई है, ये भी आने वाले वक्त में अपने देश के लिए लाभकारी है। पर्सनल बॉन्डिंग के साथ कुछ विषयों पे हम चर्चा कर सकते हैं, आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। पांचवा महत्वपूर्ण विषय ये है कि मैं Y20 के चेयरपर्सन होने के नाते आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, जिनका गाइडेंस हमें मिलता रहा है, आदरणीय मंत्री श्री अनुराग सिंह ठाकुर जी को और उनकी पूरी टीम को, Y20 मिनिस्ट्री को, सेक्रेटरी मैम मीता जी को, निर्देशक श्री पंकज सिंह जी को और पूरी टीम को तहे दिल से धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा। यू विल ऑल बी सरप्राइज टू नो, माननीय मंत्री रात में 1 बजे फ़ोन करके पूछते थे, अनमोल ये काम हुआ? एक मंत्री जो इतने कार्यों को देख रहा है, उसके बावजूद वो इतने इंटरेस्टेड थे कि हाँ Y20 में ये पॉइंट्स आने चाहिए। माननीय निर्देशक से हमारी बात 11 बजे 12 बजे होती थी कि हाँ इसको सॉल्यूशन कैसे करना है। कल 5 बजे तक डिस्कशन हुआ, आज सुबह तक पूरी टीम लगी हुई थी। हमारी टीम तो हम नेगोशिएशन में कर रहे थे, लेकिन बैकएंड में हमें सपोर्ट देने के लिए जिला की टीम और केंद्रीय मंत्रालय की पूरी टीम सपोर्टिव थी। तो ये दिखाता है कि ये बॉन्डिंग और जो सपोर्ट हमें मिला है भारतीय युवाओं को Y20 के माध्यम से, जो हमने उनको सर्वसहमति पे लाने के लिए जो कार्य किए हैं, उसके लिए मैं पूरी टीम को धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा। और जिला प्रशासन को, आई कोट वन एग्जाम्पल फ्रॉम टुडे ओनली। एक हमारे डेलीगेट का तबीयत खराब हो गया 1 बजे करीब में। जिला प्रशासन का जो मैनेजमेंट रहा और यहाँ की सरकार का, उस वक्त 1 बजे एक बंदे को भी भेजना था तो फुल सिक्योरिटी के साथ हम भेज रहे थे। हमारी पुलिस टीम और DM सर के नेतृत्व, इनके गाइडेंस में जो पूरी कार्य हुए हैं, इनके लिए जिला प्रशासन को मैं तहे दिल से धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा। और आदरणीय मुख्यमंत्री श्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी, जिन्होंने अपने कीमती वक्त से वक्त निकालकर हमारे इनॉग्रल इवेंट में आए, वो और उनकी पूरी मंत्रालय से जो हमारे सभी सम्मानित साथी, सभी सम्मानित मंत्रीगण आए थे, उनको धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा। आप सभी मीडिया बंधुओं का जो इतने कीमती वक्त और Y20 के प्रचार प्रसार में आपने जो हमें मदद की है, उसके लिए धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा। थैंक यू।
अब आप सभी पत्रकार साथियों को क्वेश्चन आंसर सत्र के लिए आमंत्रित करता हूं। अगर आपके मन में कोई सवाल हो तो आप पूछ सकते हैं। माइक। सुधीर कुमार जी, हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स से, वो सवाल करना चाह रहे हैं।
आपने जैसा ये बताया कि आपने कई आउटरीच प्रोग्राम किए सजेशंस के लिए, so my question is that how many of them were held in rural India, and whether you know rural India was specifically discussed in rural India, not only rural India, I'm talking about rural globe, youth of rural globe, whether you discussed something for them, and if anything is specifically discussed for rural Indian youths, then please elaborate.
धन्यवाद। हमारा Y20 में 5 कार्यक्रम था। मुख्यतः जो एक कार्यक्रम था Y20 चौपाल, वो ग्रामीण परिवेश के लिए था। और Y20 चौपाल जो कार्यक्रम था, इसमें ये चौपाल का जो नाम हमें अब जो गांव में चर्चाएं होती हैं, उस चौपाल के नाम से ही वहीं से हमने उसको लिया था। ग्रामीण परिवेश में जिस प्रकार चर्चा होती है और उससे जो आउटकम आता है, एक निर्णय सर्वसम्मति से किसी विषय को हम वहीं चौपाल में विचार रख करके उसको सॉल्यूशन दे देते हैं, ठीक उसी प्रकार 50 से 100 लोगों का जो युवा बैठते थे और थीम पे चर्चा होती थी। और उसके बाद उनके क्या सजेशंस हैं उसको हम लिखित रूप में उनसे लेते थे। पहला प्रश्न का दूसरा आपने कहा कि ग्रामीण परिवेश में ग्रामीण युवाओं के लिए हम क्या लेकर हमने एलेबोरेटेड जो डिस्कशंस हुए उससे क्या लाभ है। सर मेनली जो हमने सजेशंस जो लेना था उस सजेशंस को कंपाइल करके हम G20 के माध्यम से भारत सरकार के पास दे रहे हैं, और जो कॉम्निक आपके पास आएगा वो पांचों कॉम्निक में जो भी सजेशंस हैं वो हैं, वहां से आप उसको ले सकते हैं।
Request to elaborate Africa. I mean, you are going to make it G21, and for that a proposal is being given to the G20, na?
Yeah.
So just elaborate it, just a little bit, so
Okay.
that we can.
Yeah, I'll request Falit kindly take this question.
तो आप सभी को इस बारे में ज्ञात होगा कि हमारे प्रधानमंत्री माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने सभी G20 देशों के राष्ट्राध्यक्षों को यह पत्र लिखकर भारत की ओर से अफ्रीकन यूनियन को G20 की सदस्यता देने की बात कही गई है और यह प्रपोजल दिया गया है। जैसा कि हम सभी जानते हैं कि G20 में अफ्रीका से, जहां पर लगभग 55 के ऊपर देश हैं, वहां से सिर्फ एक ही राष्ट्र के पास G20 की सदस्यता है और वह है साउथ अफ्रीका। इस विषय का कमाल की बात यह है कि दक्षिण अफ्रीका ने भी हमारी जो नेगोशिएशंस थी उसमें काफ़ी समर्थन किया कि वह अकेले पूरे अफ्रीका के जो विविध विचार हैं उनको नहीं रख सकता है, और इसलिए अफ्रीकन यूनियन का जो है एक परमानेंट तरीके से G20 में और आना एक बहुत ही अच्छा कदम होगा। तो वही जो पत्र है और जो भारत की अध्यक्षता में कार्य चल रहा है उसका Y20 ने खुले मुख से समर्थन किया एवं अपने कम्युनिक की पहली ही जो चर्चा थी उसमें यह विषय रखा कि हम भारत के ये जो निर्णय है, इस विचार है, ये पत्र है, इसका समर्थन करते हैं और चाहते हैं कि अफ्रीकन यूनियन को G20 की सदस्यता मिले। इसी प्रकार भारत की बात को आगे बढ़ते हुए वहाँ पर यह भी लिखा हुआ है कि ग्लोबल साउथ के जो विभिन्न देश हैं उनकी आवाज़ को G20 के प्लेटफॉर्म पर सुना जाए। इस कार्य को एक स्टेप और आगे ले जाते हुए यह पहली बार हुआ है जहाँ पर Y20 में भी ऑब्जर्वर देश एवं संस्थाओं को बुलाया गया। तो जैसा कि हम लोगों ने लेह लद्दाख में अपना प्री समिट किया था, वहाँ पर भी अफ्रीकन यूनियन के सदस्यों को बुलाया था, उसी प्रकार हमारे मेन समिट बनारस में भी अफ्रीकन यूनियन की पूरी डेलीगेशन आई थी। तो भले ही अलग अलग एंगेजमेंट ग्रुप्स जिस भी लेवल पर समर्थन कर रहे हैं, Y20 ने एकदम पूरे तरीके से आगे बढ़कर प्रधानमंत्री जी के आह्वान का स्वागत किया है और उस पर आगे बढ़ते हुए अफ्रीकन यूनियन की डेलीगेशंस को बुलाया भी है और अपने जो हमारा कम्युनिक है उसमें पहला ऑपरेटिव क्लॉज ही इस विषय पर डाला है।
माय क्वेश्चन इज
सौरभ अग्रवाल
जी,
भारत समाचार, भारत एक्सप्रेस
जी, मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आपने बताया कि कम्युनिक पे चर्चा हुई और एट लास्ट वो फाइनलाइज हो गया, तो पहले आपने ये भी कहा कि उस पर लंबे सेशंस चले, तो कौन से ऐसे पॉइंट्स थे जिसपे ये जो डेलीगेट्स थे वो डिसएग्री थे, और कम्युनिकेट के जो पॉइंट्स थे, जो प्रपोजल थे, वो क्या 100% सभी ने एग्री हुए उससे इस पे?
सर जो हमारी थीम है, पांचों थीम, उसमें सभी का जो डिस्कशन हमने जब स्टार्ट किया था तो सभी के सुझाव लिए गए कि उनका क्या व्यू है और उसको कंपाइल किया गया। और उसके बाद जैसे सपोज डैट हमने पीस बिल्डिंग एंड रिकंसिलिएशन असरिंग इन एरा ऑफ नो वार, इसमें हमने भारत का एक एग्जाम्पल दिया कि बांग्लादेश के साथ हमारा बाउंड्री समझौता हुआ बिना एक रक्त खून का गिरे, एक हमारा एग्जाम्पल था। ठीक इसी प्रकार अन्य देशों ने एग्जाम्पल दिया और अपने व्यूज़ दिए। उस व्यूज़ को और उन एग्जाम्पल्स पे सर्वसहमति बनाया गया अभी 2 दिनों में, सभी के सजेशंस लिए गए, कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन हुआ, वो एक बहुत लंबा प्रोसेस रहा, फाइल्स पे फाइल्स बने और लास्ट में सर्वसहमति से पॉइंट्स जो आए जिसमें वर्ड्स पे भी लोग एग्री हुए कि हाँ ये पीस बिल्डिंग वर्ड रहना चाहिए, डेमोक्रेसी वर्ड रहना चाहिए, नहीं रहना चाहिए। तो फिर एग्री होने के बाद फाइनल कम्युनिक जो हम लेके आ रहे हैं वो आपके पास रहेगा। इस पूरे प्रोसेस में बातचीत हुई, सजेशंस आए, एग्जाम्पल्स आए, सभी ने अपना विषय रखा और फाइनल एग्रीमेंट वो जो आ रहा है जिसपे सभी ने एग्री किए हैं, वो हम आपके सामने प्रस्तुत करने जा रहे हैं।
और कोई सवाल?
आपकी जो आपने प्रपोजल्स रखे थे वो पांचों अग्रीड हैं?
जी हाँ, पांचों एग्रीड है। फलित
जी, हमारी पहली थीम
थोड़ा उसे डिटेल कर दीजिए, पांचों क्या चीज़ है।
पहली थीम है फ्यूचर ऑफ वर्क, इंडस्ट्री 4.0, इनोवेशन एंड 21st सेंचुरी स्किल्स। इसमें आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, मशीन लर्निंग एवं विभिन्न प्रकार के जो नई नई डिसरप्टिव टेक्नोलॉजीज आ रही हैं उनके माध्यम से जो आपका वर्क स्पेस का फ्यूचर होने वाला है, जिसमें लेबर मार्केट ट्रेंड्स एवं इत्यादि चीज़ें हैं, उनके बारे में चर्चा हुई। किस प्रकार से इस बदलते हुए जो प्रारूप है उसमें हम अपनी जो लेबर फोर्स है, वर्क फोर्स है, उसको तैयार करें। अपस्किलिंग एवं रीस्किलिंग की बात भी की गई और क्या क्या जो कदम हैं वह सरकारों को उठाने चाहिए, इस बारे में हम लोगों की चर्चा हुई। दूसरी हमारी थीम थी क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन, मेकिंग सस्टेनेबिलिटी अ वे ऑफ लाइफ। यहाँ पर जो पर्यावरण संरक्षण है उस विषय में हम लोगों ने काफ़ी चर्चाएं करी। यहाँ पर जो आपके कार्बन एमिशन टारगेट्स, पर कैपिटा एमिशंस एवं अलग अलग विषयों पर हमें चर्चा देखने को मिली। यहाँ पर जो डिज़ास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन का कॉन्सेप्ट है जिसे भारत अपनी G20 अध्यक्षता में लेकर आया है, उसके बारे में भी बढ़ चढ़कर चर्चा हुई। एक और ख़ास बात जो भारत की अध्यक्षता में इस थीम में लेकर आई गई वो थी मेकिंग सस्टेनेबिलिटी अ वे ऑफ लाइफ, यानी कि मिशन लाइफ को प्रमोट किया गया। मिशन लाइफ अर्थात लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट। जब हम देखते हैं तो वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज़ का पर्सपेक्टिव एक बहुत ही भौतिकवादी पर्सपेक्टिव रहता है, प्रोडक्शन, जीडीपी, क्लाइमेट, इन सब विषयों पर। अपितु भारत का जो पर्सपेक्टिव है उसमें एक सामान्य नागरिक किस प्रकार से एक सहजता के साथ अपने जो चीज़ों का कंजम्पशन है, कार्बन का कंजम्पशन है, मेटल कंजम्पशन है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कंजम्पशन है आदि, अपनी लाइफस्टाइल में क्या परिवर्तन ला सकता है और एक समझदार नागरिक की तरह जीवन जी सकता है, उसके बारे में तो जो सोशल मैसेजिंग का प्रयोग है उसके विषय में भी बात की गई। हमारी तीसरी थीम थी पीस बिल्डिंग एंड रिकन्सिलिएशन, अशरिंग इन एन एरा ऑफ नो वॉर। जैसा कि हम सभी जानते हैं कि विश्व में एक भौगोलिक स्तर पर, एक भू-राजनीतिक स्तर पर काफ़ी अलग अलग प्रकार के कारणों की वजह से परेशानियां चल रही हैं, अलग अलग देशों के बीच में समझौते होने की स्थिति हो रही है। तो यहाँ पर जो हमारी थीम है वह एक इस सभी समस्याओं के बीच कैसे ग्लोबल साउथ के जो देश हैं उनकी आवाज़ को हम लेकर आ सकते हैं, जो समुदाय, जो देश हैं जो कहीं ना कहीं एक तरीके से पिछड़ जाते हैं या फिर इन लड़ाइयों का ब्रंट सहते हैं, उनके विचारों को भी कैसे रखा जाए, इस पर भी हमारी चर्चा हमें देखने को मिलती है। फाइनली हमारी एक थीम थी शेयर्ड फ्यूचर, यूथ इन गवर्नेंस। उसमें हम किस प्रकार से युवाओं की जो भागीदारी है वह राजनीति, डिसीजन मेकिंग, पॉलिटिक्स, गवर्नेंस, इस सब में बढ़ा सकें, उसके लिए क्या क्या कदम सरकारों ने उठाने चाहिए, क्या वोटिंग के प्रावधान हैं इत्यादि के विषय में चर्चा हुई। तो यह सभी हमारी थीम्स थी। और फाइनली एक थीम थी हेल्थ, वेलबींग एंड स्पोर्ट्स, एन एजेंडा फॉर यूथ। तो उसमें हेल्थ के विषय में वन हेल्थ का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, एक सिस्टमैटिक अप्रोच के तौर पर हम कैसे समाज में हेल्थ को सीलोज और टुकड़ों में ना देखते हुए एक जो समाज के पिछड़े तबके के लोग हैं उन तक भी हेल्थ का और सोशल सिक्योरिटी नेट इत्यादि का कॉन्सेप्ट ले जा सकें और उनका ख्याल रखें, इन विषयों पर हमारी चर्चाएं हुई।
सर, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस की जो बात आप कर रहे हैं, तो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस में ऐसी कौन सी टेक्नोलॉजी है जो जिस पे आपकी सहमति उन पे बनी है?
देखिए, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के विषय में हमने चर्चाएं करी और क्या होना चाहिए, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के माध्यम से क्या लाभ हो सकता है G20 कंट्री और G20 कंट्री के युवाओं को। इस विषय पे सहमति बना करके हमने कॉम्निक में डाला है और वो कॉम्निक हम आपको देंगे। जी, चाइना का प्रतिनिधित्व नहीं था। उसका कारण ये था, जो उन्होंने डेलीगेट्स सेलेक्ट किए थे उनके स्वास्थ्य ठीक नहीं थे, जिसके कारण वो नहीं आ पाए। जैसे कल ही एक कंट्री के डेलीगेट्स का तबीयत खराब हो गया, आने के बावजूद वो पार्टिसिपेट नहीं कर पाए। लेह में एक डेलीगेट्स आए थे, उन्होंने भी पार्टिसिपेट नहीं कर पाए थे। तो स्वास्थ्य इशू के कारण कुछ कारण बनते हैं इसके कारण वो नहीं आए थे।
और कोई सवाल? कहा था कि 40 के करीब होंगे, उतने लोग भाग लेंगे, लेकिन जिस तरह से रजिस्ट्रेशन हुए वो संख्या काफ़ी ऊपर तक गई। और सर का कहना था कि जितने भी पत्रकार हैं वो भी ये सम्मेलन जो है या यूथ Y20 है, तो पत्रकार भी युवा ही है, युवा मांडी हैं, तो जितने संख्या में वो लोग आना चाहते हैं सभी लोग की इसमें सहभागिता होगी। और Y20 में अगर 120-125 देशों की भागीदारी रही तो इस कार्यक्रम में 100 पत्रकारों की भी भागीदारी रही वाराणसी से, और सभी लोगों को यहाँ मौका दिया गया। इसमें काफ़ी नए पत्रकार भी थे जो अभी पत्रकारिता की शुरुआत कर रहे हैं, उन्हें एक मंच प्रदान किया गया कि किस तरह के अंतर्राष्ट्रीय आयोजन होते हैं और किस तरह से उसकी कवरेज की जा सकती है। इसके लिए PIB और अगर आप लोग अनुमति दें तो आप सभी पत्रकार साथियों की ओर से भी युवा मामले का मंत्रालय और जो यूथ सेक्रेटेरिएट है उनको मैं धन्यवाद प्रेषित करता हूँ। धन्यवाद। और इस कार्यक्रम के बाद प्रेस रिलीज के माध्यम से जो चीज़ें हैं कम्युनिक वो उपलब्ध करा दी जाएगी कुछ समय के बाद। थैंक यू सो मच। हाँ, हो जाएगी आ जाए।